Good evening, fellow members of the American Artist Professional League. My name is John Bandish, coming to you live from sunny coastal Delaware. It's 5 o'clock. Well, it is 4:59. We're just a few seconds early for our 5 o'clock club. We've taken the last couple of weeks as a off here for just a little bit, and that's just because it's the summer and everyone's on vacation. And that's but we're here, 5 o'clock club, and we're going to be continuing our interview series. We started first with board members, and now we're also moving on to you, our members, and we've been have a lot of you all reach out to us, and I'll be getting to emails shortly. I had a few today. You may or may not know, I have an 8-month-old baby that I am primary caregiver of. So it takes a little bit of time for me to email, but I assure you, I will be getting to that email really soon. So there, as you say, is that. And our guest today is going to be Tina Garrett. She does not need an introduction from me, but we're trying to get this set up here. I don't know why it's not letting me accept her. I'm trying to accept it on my phone, but as we're trying to get through the technical difficulties, I'll just say that Tina is an ARC Living Master, which is an incredible feat to have. She's part of the Oil Painters of America. She is part of NOPES. She's a fantastic painter. We're reviewing the request. We're hitting accept. Hopefully this is going to work, Tina. I'm excited to get to talk with you, and excited to talk with you, our members of the American Artist Professional League. Don't know why it's not letting me accept that right now. So as we're trying to do this whole live stream thing and trying to figure it out, it's we're trying here. We're trying accept. I'm trying to accept it, so hopefully this will go through. So if you are not yet a member of the American Artist Professional League, we encourage you to join a group of other amazing, talented artists that are interested in representational realism-oriented art. Here we are trying to do this. Tina Garrett. I am hitting accept. I'm not sure why this is not working, but hello, everybody that is logging on. We are, of course, every Thursday at 5 o'clock, we are going to be doing this unless otherwise Tina Garrett is unable to join. We're trying to accept that. I don't know what's happening. Oh, here we go. I think we made it work.
Hi.
Hey, here we go. Hi, Tina.
Sorry, I'm technically challenged.
No, that's okay. I think it's all of us. They make phones easy, and then of course, then for the rest of us who were born prior to 2000, the rest of us are trying to figure out to catch up.
Thanks for your patience.
Oh, no, thank you very much for yours as well. And I had a short little brief interview, although I do not believe I could do enough justice for introducing you and all the major accomplishments that you have. Your work is absolutely incredible. You're here on Instagram as our artist, Tina Garrett. So if you aren't already following her, you are totally missing out on some amazing work. One of the ones in particular is Dream a Little Dream of Me. I mean, I saw that painting and I looked at the dress, it was just like, I was blown away. I was like, that's amazing. So again, not that you need a compliment from me, but I'm just saying it was absolute amazing.
Thank you. You're so kind. That's a special piece to me, so it really means a lot. Thank you.
Well, and I have to say the title really kind of hit me because I sat there and I was like, my first thought went right to Les Mis. And I was like, that song is just, it's a powerful song. It's a beautiful song. I mean, it's sad, of course, but I just sat there and it hit me, and I was like sitting there just stunned looking at it for a while. And I mean, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. What a moment.
Thank you.
Like, you're very welcome. So we'll get into this here. So I guess just if you want to tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, your background, and then how you came about to the American Artist Professional League.
Yeah, I'm a signature artist in the league, and it's such an honor to be a part of such a historic, long time organization that's been working for realism, which is something that I think got lost for a while there, and they were doing it when it wasn't cool. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really proud to be a member. I love its historic ties to the Salmagundi Club. There are a lot of benefits to being a member, but one of my favorite things that they do is they send out that great grapevine newsletter, and I'm always trying to send in what my news is. And I think that's awesome that they'll share, you know, any of the member news with everybody else. And in terms of being an artist, I've been some kind of an artist my whole life, usually just drawing and graphic design in my first 10 years of my career. But around 2012, I had a chance to reinvent myself and become the kind of artist that I always wanted to be. And it was because organizations like the American Artists Professional League and the Art Renewal Center working so hard towards making realism something of value again, that I think that I've been able to do what I do. Before then, there was like a gap where people who were making realistic art couldn't really sell for even close to the kind of cost that you could get for abstract and conceptual work. And the kind of organizations like AAPL just really, they're working hard towards making that something that makes money for people who do what I do. And that's not very common. They didn't have to do it. Starting the league and keeping it going and making it, making a voice for realist art is something that they did that was like, it's going to serve history over time.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack with what you just said there. I mean, I think for one, if you're a younger artist that are coming across this and maybe you have an interest in learning some of these old master techniques that, I mean, I graduated from undergrad a little over 20 years ago, and I can say that these were not concepts that were taught. I had to seek these out from particular professors at my alma mater, and then outside of it. And one of the aspects of today that's fantastic for the world is the information is at people's fingertips, and these supercomputers that are in our pockets. The kind of information that you can get is fantastic. But if you're a younger artist that's out there, I think one of the things we can take away from what you were saying is join these organizations.
Yeah.
You know, there's a wealth of people that are at different stages of their career that you can learn from, even just where they're showing, what they're doing, what their path was.
It's true.
So thank you for sharing.
There's so much about what we're doing now that everyone feels is really trendy and it's really hot and you can get a lot of followers doing it. But there was a time when you would be kind of ridiculed, called traditional as if that was a bad word, classical as if that was a bad word. And that wasn't even that long ago. Maybe about 10 years ago, even still, I was getting a lot of feedback from galleries and just other contemporary art peers that was sort of sneering at realism. It's amazing how much it's come, and it's come because of these kinds of organizations that always believed that there was value in this type of artwork. We are all reaping the benefits of things like the AAPL.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And other organizations like the Almanara Collection, like you said, ARC.
Yeah.
There's tons of groups that are out there that are doing that. And unfortunately, to your point, yeah, I do think there are still some aspects of that sort of negativity towards representational, traditional realism oriented art. But I think we're going to get past that at some point.
It's just jealousy.
Hey, you never know.
There's feeling animosity. I think they're just jealous now.
It could be that, but you know, and I would just say one thing to that, in my opinion, just from what I've experienced in my time, whether it's a fine art festival, gallery world, people coming to my brand new studio I just finished building. There's sort of a reverence of almost like it's a bit of magic. That, oh my God, like you can do that. Because now we live in a world where AI technology exists, and what does that mean to all of it? I liken that concept or conversation to when photography came into existence, and people said, well, that's it. You're never going to have that. But I here we are still doing it, 200 years later after photography came around. So,
Well, that's part of the reason why I teach. Honestly, yeah. If you really do love great art, you're going to have to share what you know about it so that the next generations can make it and not covet that information. You're going to have to let people learn and grow and surpass you in their greatness and their success. If you really do care about great art, if you're talking 100, 200, 300 years from now, we're going to have to share what we know. Or there only will be computers.
Well, can you tell people that are watching in and tuning into this right now, which, by the way, I'm seeing everybody waving and saying hello back to everybody that's out there watching. I see people that I know, they're from all across the country, which is so fantastic to see everybody tuning in and saying hi and taking a listen to us talk. Do you want to tell everybody out there listening where they might be able to find some of that education. Where are you located at?
Yeah.
If they were interested in taking classes with you, how can they get in
Sure,
touch?
sure. Yeah, I reside in the Kansas City area, Missouri, and I do classes here at my studio, Atelier Underground, and I have venues that bring me in and host me all across the United States and around the world. So some of the bigger ones are the Scottsdale Artists School, Village Arts of Putney. I've taught at the Denver Art Students League. I'm teaching this next April at the Booth Museum, Western Art in Atlanta. Charles Mayano's Southern Atelier down in Sarasota, Florida. I'll be there in the spring. I'm really all over the place. Abroad, I teach at the Dutch Atelier of Realist Art in Amsterdam and the Florence Studio in Florence, Italy. And I have a new workshop host that's just opening her space over in Portugal, Louise Dexter. Shout out to her. I'll be teaching the first workshop at her space in late September this year. And I'm teaching at the Royal Academy in Sydney over the Christmas holidays.
These are all fantastic things. I think I've got to try to put together a few dollars and come and study with you, because I so much
It is
that
a lot of fun.
I feel
love
like
what I get to do. Getting to see the world, getting to meet artists all around the world. There's such a continuity and a similarity between artists, no matter what their background is. That's part of the reason why I believe in teaching so much, because I think that if there were more artists, the world would be a better place. So make as many as we can.
That is fantastic, fantastic. So again, if you're not following Tina here on Instagram, take artist Tina Garrett, look her out. That's her name here on Instagram, and all of her links are going to be attached to that. So if you're interested in taking classes and studying with one of the best that's out there, please go ahead and do so. Because I mean, again, I think I've got to go have a conversation with my wife about putting a budget aside to come and study with you. So let's move on to a couple of other questions here.
Okay.
So we talked about what organizations you're a part of. Do you want to talk about some of the influences? Because, I mean, as another realist, from one realist artist to another, I think we can point towards some direct influences. And then, you know, again, those of us that are maybe older that remember a thing called books and encyclopedias and libraries, you know, we grew up looking at these things in books. And then those of us who were fortunate enough to have traveled the world and lived abroad, I lived in Rome for a semester, and that was great to be able to see these works of art. There's all kinds of different influences that we all have. So do you want to talk a little bit about what influenced you in your path?
I got so fortunate. My very first oil painting workshop was with Romel de la Torre. It was a scholarship through the Scottsdale Artist School. I didn't know who he was, and they put me in his class. I had never oil painted before, and I was just an absolute wreck. And I felt like I didn't belong in that class, but I also felt really lucky that I got to meet him. Jerry Salinas, who's a regular teacher out there. Shout out if you're here, Jerry. He's always on Instagram. He does a beautiful, constantly doing live stuff on Instagram. So if you're not following Jerry, you should. But through them, I learned who Richard Schmid was. And that's when like the vault just cracked open. And the book Alla Prima, and then later on published Alla Prima 2, that really became my lifeline. And since Richard wasn't teaching anymore, I just started taking as many classes as I could from artists that were either directly influenced by him or actual students of his. So you can just go down my whole resume. I've had classes with Daniel Keeves, Kathy Anderson, Jeremy Lipking, Michelle Dunaway. I really, and many classes with Romel. After that very first class, I think he came to teach here at my studio in Kansas City 7 more times. So Richard's influence is probably the biggest of everybody, and his wife Nancy, and both of them sort of took me under their wing, and being able to learn from his books and DVDs, that's just like the treasure trove. It really is everything anybody needs to know about oil painting, in my belief. I sort of cringe when I see people who have that book and it's perfect and pristine and it's never been opened, and I think you had the entire set of answers there and you never opened it. Like,
That's
it
great.
should be like highlighted, and you know, it needs to, for me, it's on the easel. It's something I address every single time I paint. I am looking for his thoughts, his perspectives, his challenges, his humor, and I absolutely, I'm such a Schmidite.
That's great. Yeah. It's interesting, is I think you point towards something that I know I have in my own studio practice, and I know from other friends of mine and just talking with other artists like yourself, that we all have at least a fair collection of books like that, that, again, you're right, if there isn't paint smudges, rips and tears and things and little notes and post-it notes saying, remember this, and you know, these sorts of things that I think that's one of the parts of having a studio practice as a professional that is really, truly needed. You know, it's having that as a, I'll say, a reference of some type, whether it's a direct or just like having the thing there sometimes just makes you remember and going like, okay, I've got this. This is okay, you know. So that's fantastic. So again, if you're a younger artist out there and you're coming across this, this is all gold mine stuff for you out there. Listen to all this stuff, you know. We talked a little bit about kind of things that we both like and don't like about today's art world, as far as maybe wishing that there was even more support for traditional realisms kind of stuff. What are some things about the art world today that you find that maybe is better than when you first came into the fine art world? Is there anything that that you think has gotten better or improved instead of just maybe not?
Well, I didn't know the art world existed. In all reality, I had no idea that doing this for a living was even a real option in 2012 when I started. I just thought, I'm going to do the best I know how to do. In Kansas City, the local galleries were very, very heavily conceptual, lots of light installations and really conceptual abstract sculpture. Think like a foam insulation piled up on itself with the poetry next to it, right? So there wasn't a lot for me to see. There might have been one or two galleries where traditional art was sold, but primarily landscape and still life. I didn't see really any figurative work at all. And I hadn't really delved into the scene as much because that I didn't find myself or my people there. And so finding Rommel and finding Richard and everyone who was so heavily influenced by him kind of opened my world up to like the Scottsdale gallery scene and the East Coast gallery scene. So I feel what's really getting better is that there are more of those galleries, that it is changing. I can definitely tell you that a lot of the people who I've mentored have started to win prizes and start to make a living at it. And that's always so gratifying. So I think that the market is opening up, and that's the part that's really changing from when I first realized this world was here. Now, you might ask someone who's been doing it for 30 years, and they might have said that the realism market was doing great. If you were in Western art 30 years ago, you were making money hand over fist. If you were maybe doing portraiture on the southeast, maybe say South Carolina area, they were probably doing really well. But I think across the whole US as a general, things have really opened up. You know, there's always going to be dips and falls when the market goes bad, or when, you know, politics or natural disasters take over. People get sort of scared and they start to save, and they don't have the kind of expendable money. But I think a general nice rising of realism in terms of its marketability is definitely going up on a long-term rising trajectory.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I totally would agree to all of to pretty much just all of that. And I'll further it by saying I have a theory lately where I actually think that programs and platforms like Instagram and even Facebook so much have helped for that, right? Because you don't feel like you're an island in an ocean, as you referenced, kind of being in Kansas City, and maybe they didn't have that. Because growing up in Philly, which is nice to be on the East Coast, everything was always at my fingertips. I have family that lived in New York. I would go up to the Met constantly.
Jealous.
Which is, yeah, I mean, believe me, I don't take that for granted. I would see things in galleries like that too. And even in Philly where, you know, there's a great, fantastic art scene, I would still see a lot more, let's say, more conceptual oriented or abstract even. So, I would say that me personally, I think that having these platforms and being able to do what we're doing right now, I mean, here we are talking, a couple 100 miles away here on this thing. I remember a time where if you had a long distance phone call, you had to ask permission to dial that phone number because it was going to cost, a fair amount of extra money on the phone bill. So, I think that's a component that I think is also helping that, furthering everything that you were also talking about.
Oh my gosh, social media has just blown up. And really, your potential for doing almost anything you want as a self-proprietor is just open. if you can't find a way to make money with this, like you said, supercomputer in your pocket, then you're just not going to make money in any business because it's just too easy now. I mean, think fidget spinners, right? People paid money for those. So.
Exactly. Yeah. We're just having the information there. You know, it's some things like Google searches can lead you down these paths of how do you start a business, you know, and what is marketing for artists, these types of things. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there, of course, how do you know who to listen to? But that information is still there as opposed to you had to go to your local library and hope that they had some type of a publication, you know, a book or a periodical, whatever, that they had something that could help you. You were sort of beholden to whatever was there. So,
well, there are luckily a lot of organizations that are really centered towards making business and art successful. I'm a fine art studio online member, and they have just an incredible database of marketing tips. I mean, you can even go in there and ask them how to say things on your posts, and they'll tell you, you know, how to talk in an encouraging way or how to sell in a, you know, it's just like laid out there for such a little tiny membership fee. So there's just hundreds now, great art organizations that have awesome benefits for pretty much anybody who wants to try to do it themselves.
So again, if you're a younger artist and you're coming across this video, there's just a ton of things. And even if you're, you know, an established artist, you know, I'm one of these people that's been in the game for a while. And listen, you can't know everything. I'm always on the lookout for some new piece of information, something I didn't get before, just learning something else, a different technique that I can add into my studio practice, or just that age old, you know, challenge yourself into something that maybe you don't think that you can pull off. And so there's tons of options and stuff out there. This is all good stuff. So this is one of my favorite questions to ask people, and I really, really am excited to sit there and hear what you have to say. So I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
Okay, we'll see.
Right. So if you could own any piece from art history, any single piece, any painting, any sculpture, anything, what would that one piece be?
God, that's a tough question. That is a really tough question. I love so much artwork. I really do. I just love it all. I don't know, just the idea of actually owning anything. I'll tell you a story. I got to hold a study of a Bouguereau in my hand.
Wow.
And the study was of like the side of a face and an ear and a hand. And then the actual painting was like, I think it was 12 or 17 feet tall. And it was standing right next to me. I could have touched it if I wanted to. But I actually said to myself in my mind, and this is at the Art Renewal Center's permanent collection, by the way, I actually thought to myself, I could just leave with this. They don't really need it. You know, I could hear myself justifying, it's small enough, just put it in your coat, you know, take it out. So I actually think the study works of the masters or the unfinished works of the masters are more valuable in terms of telling me what I need to do to make my own work a masterpiece. So probably just about any study work from any past master would be fine, but I would totally kill for a Bouguereau painting. I love the one where I think it's called Night. There's a girl floating with this purple fabric around her body, and there's bats flying in the air, and whew. any figurative work where it's really done well, where the atmosphere is done well, where the narration, you know, the story, the narrative is well, you know, done well. It doesn't just have to be beautiful. It has to really tell you the story that you would want to hear again and again, kind of provoke a story from you. And so, yeah, gosh, any study of any masterpiece would be valuable, but yeah.
Okay. Well, so
I almost stole a Bouguereau study.
Well, and it's funny you say that because my second most favorite question really is kind of like in tandem with that, and that's forget language barrier. Just kind of assume that all languages could be understood or spoken. One person from art history that you could have a conversation with, you could go out to dinner and have drinks. Who would that one person be?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I love these questions, because it's like, oh God, that's like almost impossible to answer. But
it is almost impossible to answer, but I'm going to let you know like a dirty secret. Okay. So I totally have a crush on Fantin Latour. Have you ever seen his like self-portrait? It's so dark and steamy. It's actually on my Instagram. So I would totally go and have a little tryst in the past with Fantin Latour.
That's fantastic. I was not expecting that.
Romantic.
That's
By the way
great.
he does his work, you'd have to think that he would just sweep you off your feet, right? The accent. I'm a sucker for an accent.
Well, and okay, there you go. So that's there you go. So if you're out there again listening and watching, these are some great artists, and hey, we all have our one or two people that we will just die to go back in time and say, can you just talk? I just want to listen to what you got, and I love your work, and if you have the accent, you're even better off sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
French accent. I'm done.
so this is the question that I don't always get a chance. In a list of questions that I kind of created for this interview series. And again, if you're interested in participating in the interviews, head to aaplinc.org. That's our website. You can click the links through here on Instagram on our bio, and you can sign up. And I'll send you the list of questions. So I'm not blindsiding you with anything, because I'm not trying. This is just a fun conversation. We're happy to connect with all of our fun artist friends here on Instagram. But when I was thinking of these questions, this was one where it had been posed to me. This is not a question that I came up with. And I kind of got stumped, because there are two pieces that I've done. Is there anything that you've created that you would not be willing to sell? They mean too much to you that like this has to stay with me. I'm happy to share it with the world, but nobody else can own it. Have you ever done anything?
Yes. So I have two pieces that I own, and I get in trouble with this all the time because I want to keep more of my own work, and my husband says I can't afford to keep my own work.
My wife says the same thing.
So the third painting I ever painted was actually one of my daughter, and it's a figurative piece. It's completely bad. It's got so much issues with proportions, and my color temperature's all over the place. But it's the third painting I ever created. It's the first prize I really ever won. It got into the best and brightest at the Scottsdale Artist School. And I have a picture of me and Casey Boss standing next to it, because I went and took his class when I got into that award ceremony. And a collector, a patron of mine, who has bought so much artwork, and I would have in the past said I would do anything for them except for that. They just asked, I'm going to say maybe 2 months ago, if they could buy that. And I said, oh gosh, no. That's my daughter. It's my third piece I ever painted. I can't let it go. It's bad painting in terms of, as quality goes, if you're say critiquing a work for whatever its, attributes are, it's not a great painting, but I love it. And then I have another I did of both my kids, the year they both graduated high school together in 2019. Because my daughter is so precocious, she graduated a year early.
Oh,
Fifth in the class for her brother's class. So that's
wow, that's impressive.
so smart. But the two together are sitting under my neighbor's dogwood tree, and it's blossoming, and it's kind of like a family tree painting. It's very large. It's a little bit looser than my typical work. It's just full of color, and it's really sort of like me capturing them and keeping them with me, and they went off to school. And it's only ever been online in like a snippet. I think I shared a snippet of my son's face and a snippet of my daughter's face, but the whole thing has never even been seen online. So only students who come here can see that. It's just hanging in my billiard room. So it's
well, so again, if you're out there watching and you're interested in taking a class like I am, there's a way. You're only going to be a special group of people that's going to see this painting, so you have to sign up for classes to see it. So, kind of along the lines of all of this, do you have any favorite sort of movements or moments in time of art history, like a place, a time that you would just die to be able to go back and be a part of and just experience?
Can I say I'd like to go forward instead of back?
Well,
I am
you're
not
the first one to say that. Now
I love art history in terms of like, send me back in time to watch a movie on art or something like that. I love it, but I'm not an intellectual history buff, and I wouldn't even know how to pinpoint those spaces and times in an accurate way. But I am dying to know if the work I'm putting in today is going to pay off, and if 250 to 500 years from now, are there still going to be artists making oil paintings? Are there still going to be artists making real sculpture, bronzes and marble sculpture and all that? I really am so hopeful that people will start to appreciate it for its mental health and emotional health, for its effect on and culture, for its effect on what is perceived beauty. There's so much about it that I am super hopeful that the next generation works as hard as I am and just keeps passing it on, and it grows. And it's like a common thing to have an artist in your family, to have an artist, a local artist or two in your town. So put me in the future for a couple 100 years and let me know how it goes. That's what I would like to do.
Well, I can't. Let me go find a DeLorean and Dr. Brown, and I'll try to make that happen for you.
That would be so fun.
All right, so I try to keep these to about 30 odd minutes or so, just because most people's attention spans these days, and we're all busy with things and family and friends. So I guess what we'll do kind of here is I'll let you just sort of have the end here. If you want to just tell people where can they, again, see some more of your work, where your next show's at, and anything else that you want to talk about, floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you for asking. Thank you. So I have 2 shows coming up, or I have, well, let's put it this way. I have 3 pieces down at the Museum of Western Art in Kerrville, Texas, for the Roundup. I think it's the 39th annual Roundup, but that'll open, I think, on September 8th. And that following month later, on October 7th and 8th, I have 1 piece in a Richard Schmid and his protege show in New Hampshire at Westwind Fine Art. And I am so honored to be included in that exhibition of some of Richard's work and Timothy Thesis' work and a couple other, Nancy Guzik's work. I mean, we're talking about, it is such an honor to have a piece in that. And so if you want to see my artwork, you can go there, or you can go to Highlands Art Gallery in New Jersey represents me as well. So they have, I think, maybe the most of my work. If you're out and about and want to get out and see some of my paintings, that's in Lambertville, New Jersey.
For people that may not know exactly where Lambertville is, it's right across the river from New Hope, PA, which is just north of Philly, maybe about an hour or so north of Philly. So if you're in the Trenton, New York, Philly area, it's just a short drive, and it's a beautiful town. Both sides of the river. There's a lot of history in that area with the Pennsylvania Impressionists too. So
yes, it's a gorgeous little historic town, and I will be teaching a workshop there sometime in the next probably 24 months. I am teaching here at my studio in November. I think it's the 18th, 19th, or 17th, 18th, 19th. I'm doing a 3-day Secrets to Painting Edges workshop, and there are just 3 spots left.
Where can people sign up for that class? Yeah,
just tinagarrett.com. You can go straight to tinagarrett.com, and all of the workshops. I leave the 29th for the Dutch Atelier of Realists, and that workshop's full with 14 max. That's in the Netherlands, and then I go to Italy. I think there are still 3 or 4 spots left in the Florence studio in Italy, and then there's a couple 3 spots left in Portugal.
You can't tell me that, because I miss being in Italy in the
Come
worst
to
way.
Italy!
Tutti
Oh
di
my gosh!
Italia. Oh.
You've got to do it. Frank and Laura are wonderful. They are a Canadian couple. They've had a studio there in Florence for, I think, 16 or 17 years. He is a renowned sculptor. She is a recognized indirect method. So think like, say, girl with pearl earring, Vermeer. She does that kind of a method. So she's very classical lessons there. It's a
now you're really getting it. That's how I paint. I paint indirectly too. So now you're really making it hard for me. I think my wife was actually listening to this. So honey, I think I've got to figure out a few dollars and go fly over to Firenze.
It's a wonderful place, and I always enjoy meeting all the artists that come in from around the world. I've had artists from South Africa and Australia, and it's just being a professional painter is just my lifelong dream. So even if you don't have like the means to reach out and actually fly out and do a workshop in person with me, I do a ton of free stuff online on my blog. I do a free questions and answers broadcast, not unlike this, on Facebook, and that's open. You can watch all the old broadcasts all you want to. And I just, I answer when people send me messages, so don't hesitate to reach out through my website or my Instagram or my Facebook profiles.
Fantastic. So again, thank you very much for reaching out and wanting to be a part and taking a couple of minutes out of your time for this. And again, if you're out there and you're listening to this, or you're watching us live right now, or you come across this later, head to aaplinc.org if you wanted to be a part of this. Go right on the website. It's pretty easy to sign up. The email will come right to me, and we'll get in touch and we can figure out a time. It's really not that fun. I promise I don't bite. It's just a ton of fun to get on there and look, and just having a 30-some odd minute conversation together. One, I think I'm about to go fly over to Italy now, which is I have to brush up on my Italian. But there's just all this. It's a great conversation, and there's a wealth of information that I wasn't even aware of, and so for everybody out there listening, listen. There's these groups, like you said earlier in the interview. These groups are fantastic for just getting together with all of us. There's so much information and that we can help each other out, and for the whole purpose of promoting representational traditional realism art. And listen, you said you wanted to go 500 years into the future. I'm going to tell you that I think I already know it's going to be even more popular than it's ever been. I honestly really think that the more that technology continues as it does in AI and all these things, I think it's just going to have that fascination, that part of us human beings that want to know how did they do that? Like somebody painted that, somebody drew that. How did they do that? So I don't think it's ever going away. So I'm going to spoil alert history of the future for people, but I'll still try to find you a DeLorean. I'll still try to find Doc Brown on that DeLorean, and maybe Michael J. Fox will tag along too. We'll see.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a great time.
Tina, it was my pleasure, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.